let's have some history on the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution of the United States of America. I'm trying to bring you guys up to date on this so you understand things a whole lot better than what you did before. The framers of our Constitution were born and brought up in the atmosphere of the common law and thought and spoke in its vocabulary. They were familiar with other forms of government, recent and ancient, and indicated in their discussion, early study, and consideration of many of them, that when they came to put their conclusions onto the form of fundamental law in a compact draft, they expressed themselves in terms of common law, confident that they could be shortly and easily understood. Let me get this so that you guys can see. The language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law and to British institutions as they were the instruments that was framed and adopted. To every question, on every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted, and recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning can be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one which was when it was passed. You've got these Democrats up there, and they're trying to squeeze everything out of a Constitution that's not even there. The evidence is overwhelmingly in favor of the interpretation that the drafters of the Second Amendment deliberately intended with specific words they chose and used, and the specific way which they chose to organize these words into a long sentence to recognize the existence of both a collective and an individual right of the American citizen to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution ratifies and preserves for every citizen the right to keep and bear arms, and moreover that Congress or any other instrument of the federal government is constitutionally barred from infringing upon that right. I'll leave it there for a minute. You guys get it soaked in. They have no constitutional authority to pass any firearm laws. They never have. That's the thing that what we're trying to get across to you. You know, back in the day when I was passing out constitutions, that's back when Bill Clinton was in office, and he didn't want people reading the Constitution because he did not want you people to know what your rights were. When you're doing something illegal, you don't want people to know that you're doing something illegal. If you don't know your rights, people, you don't have any rights. I want you to remember something. It's important to understand that the Constitution is in writing, and it's important to you to understand it is a legal document that was ratified by all members in Congress together, and the document has all the signatures on that document, and it's important to understand that there was an offer for the government offered to be governed. Okay? Now there's a unique situation here in force. It's very rare when you find a party of the first party, which is your congressmen, officers of the government, who are also parties to the second part as representatives of we the people of the Republic. When they signed the document, they signed as officers of the government agreeing to the Constitution, and simultaneously as officers and representatives of the people in the Republican form of government. When they signed that document, it constituted an ironclad contract in writing, enforceable in a court of law pursuant to the statute of fraud. Now, if you read something in the Constitution and you have good reason to believe it is the way it is, they should honor that, and they should honor it in favor of you, the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary. The Second Amendment to our federal Constitution recognizes that God-given right to keep and bear arms is to be free from any interference whatsoever from the federal government. Our framers were for an armed American people. They understood that arms are our ultimate defense in the event of the federal government overstepping its bounds. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere in the Constitution granted the authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns and ammunition. Thus, all restrictive laws made by Congress, all regulations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are unconstitutional as being outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restriction of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers delegated to Congress or to the executive branch. Now, these were some of the laws that have been passed, and they are very unconstitutional. The National Firearm Act of 1934, Federal Firearm Law of 1938, the Gun Control of 1968, the Undetectable Handgun Law of 1988, the Brady Handgun Violence Preservation Act of 1993. The 1994 Public Safety and Recreational Firearm Use of Protection Act of, it's a crime bill. Okay? All these things, people, are unconstitutional. You can't pass that. Now, if Congress had any sense, they would be scrambling to get rid of all these acts, all these from 1934, 1938, 1968, all the stuff, and get rid of the Patriot Act because that's unconstitutional, and to get rid of the Domestic Violence Act of 96 or 97, which was ex post facto. You can't pass a law and make it retroactive all the way back to Adam and Eve. You get the picture, people? They don't want you to know what your rights are. Period. Only you have to know what these laws and stuff are, what your rights are. That is your protection against what is going on right now. The problem is most people, they don't keep track of their surroundings. Now, if you were out in the bush and there were lions and tigers and bears and stuff after you, you would have to stay alert so that you wouldn't get killed. And what is going on right now in the United States of America will get you killed. They are putting you under their control, under their influence, and they're doing nothing. They took an oath to preserve, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States. They haven't been doing that. The Constitution. They have no power to mess around with firearms or ammunition. This crap that they give you about, oh, we're here to protect the children. No, they're not. They're there to alter the Constitution, to change the DNA of the Constitution to fit their agenda, not yours. We're paying these people up there big money. And what are they doing? Are they taking care of the United States? No, sirree. So we want Congress to scramble. Let's change get rid of all those firearm laws and the Domestic Violence Act, the Patriot Act, anything else that's unconstitutional, and put this government back on firm ground. Everything has to come from the common law laws. That's how the Constitution was written. You know, like according to the Constitution, only silver and gold are legal tender. And then in 1933 they changed that. So that makes the Federal Reserve null and void because it breaks the Constitution. It doesn't matter if it was passed or not. Still broke the Constitution. Okay. I hope that helps you guys study the Constitution so you understand it. The more you look at it, the better it will, the words will jump out at you and you'll understand what they mean. I was like you 20-some years ago until I started reading it and understanding. Thanks for watching.